Hello guys, in this episode we're going to learn the most important editor controls that you will use every single time you work in Unreal Engine. We'll cover camera movement, selecting and transforming objects, snapping, duplication, and a few essential shortcuts that make working in the editor much easier. By the end of this video, navigating in editor should feel much more natural. Let's start with camera movement. The main control you'll use is the right mouse button. Hold the right mouse button and move your mouse around. This lets you rotate the camera and look around the scene. Now, while holding the right mouse button, use the WASD keys on your keyboard. W moves forward, S moves backward, A moves left, and D moves right. This works very similarly to movement in many video games. You can also move up and down using Q and E. Spend a moment moving around the level a bit. Don't worry about precision yet. The goal right now is simply to get comfortable controlling the camera. Now let's talk about selecting objects. Simply left-click on an object in the viewport to select it. You'll notice an outline appears around the selected object. You can also select objects from the outliner panel on the right side. Sometimes after moving around a lot, you may lose track of an object in the scene. A very useful shortcut for this is the F key. Select an object, then press F. This focuses the camera directly on the selected object. This is one of the shortcuts I use a lot. If you ever feel lost in the viewport, just select something and press F. Now, let's learn the three main transform tools. These are used to change an object's position, rotation, and size. At the top of the viewport, you will see three icons: Move, Rotate, and Scale. You can also switch between them using keyboard shortcuts: W for Move, E for Rotate, and R for Scale. Let's start with Move. Select an object. You'll see arrows appear. These arrows represent movement along different axes. Red is X, green is Y, and blue is Z. Click and drag one of the arrows to move the object. Next is Rotate. Switch to the Rotate tool. Now you'll see colored circles instead. This lets you rotate the object around different axes. And finally, Scale. This changes the size of the object. You can drag individual axes or scale uniformly from the center. At this stage, don't worry too much about perfectly understanding axes and directions yet. That understanding develops naturally with practice. Alright, now let's talk about snapping. Snapping helps objects move in clean increments instead of freely. This makes building scenes much easier and more organized. At the top of the viewport, you will see snapping controls. There are separate settings for movement snapping, rotation snapping, and scale snapping. For example, if movement snapping is enabled, objects move in fixed steps instead of tiny uncontrolled amounts. This is extremely useful when placing walls, floors, or modular assets later. You can change the snapping values here depending on how precise you want the movement to be. For now, the default settings are completely fine. Another useful setting is camera speed. If camera movement feels too slow or too fast, you can adjust it here in the viewport toolbar. Lower values make movement slower and more precise. Higher values let you move quickly across larger levels. For small scenes, slower movement is usually more comfortable. As your projects become bigger later, increasing camera speed becomes very useful. Alright, now let's duplicate an object. Select any object in the scene, then hold Alt and drag the object. This creates a copy instantly. This is one of the fastest ways to build scenes in Unreal Engine. You can also right-click and duplicate it from the outliner. And very importantly, Unreal supports undo and redo just like most other software. Ctrl+Z is undo. Ctrl+Y is redo. This might feel obvious, but not every program uses the same shortcuts, so it's worth keeping in mind. I make mistakes all the time when working in the editor, so undo is honestly one of my favorite shortcuts. It just becomes a normal part of how you work. One last thing we'll briefly look at is local and world space. You'll find this setting near the transform tools. For now, here's the simple idea. World space uses the global directions of the level. Local space uses the object's own rotation. This mostly becomes important after objects are rotated. Let me show you quickly. Right now, the movement arrows align with the world. But after rotating the object, local space follows the object's new direction instead. Don't worry if this feels a little abstract right now. At the beginner stage, you mainly just need to know that this option exists. As you build more scenes later, the difference will become much clearer naturally. Alright, that's it for this episode. You now know the core viewport controls that you'll use constantly while working in Unreal Engine. At first, some of these controls may feel awkward or easy to forget, and that's completely normal. After a bit of practice, they become automatic. In the next episode, we'll start working more directly with objects and levels. We'll learn how to add and organize actors, manage scenes more cleanly, and create a basic workflow for building levels. So see you guys in the next one.